Virgo, the universe has opened the paths. Discover what's coming your way now. There is something that has come your way that you haven't accepted yet. Not because it isn't there, not because the universe hasn't done its part, but because there's a voice within Virgo that, every time something good appears at the entrance, opens a process. It asks questions, it examines the conditions, it checks if the ground is firm enough before taking the first step. And while this process unfolds, the path remains open, waiting. What most people don't understand about Virgo, and what Virgo herself often fails to see from within, is that the problem was never a lack of perception. It was an excess of caution with her own perception. She senses with a precision that most people can't even imagine. She perceives movements before they become events, changes before they become facts, openings before the world announces them. But then the internal laboratory opens, and what she has already felt begins to be audited. What I'm going to show in this video isn't a list of what's coming for Virgo. It's something more difficult and more necessary. It's the revelation of how Virgo intercepts, without realizing it, exactly what the universe is sending its way, and why, at this specific moment, this pattern needs to be recognized before the path closes again. Because the universe has already opened. The movement has already been made. What is coming to you now is not on its way. It has already arrived. The only question that matters is whether you're going to let them in. There's something people often say about Virgos that always sounds slightly off. They say she's careful, that she's patient, that she waits, and that might even be true to a certain extent. But there's a question no one asks along with that statement. What exactly is she waiting for? Because Virgo doesn't wait like someone resting. She waits like someone working. While the world sees stillness, inside something intense, continuous, almost exhausting is happening. She is evaluating, measuring, building hypotheses about what could go wrong before anything has gone wrong. Deep down, she is doing what she always does, trying to ensure that when she finally moves, the ground will hold her weight, and the universe, at this moment, is opening paths for her. But she hasn't crossed yet. She's still at the entrance, checking the conditions. This is not weakness. In fact, it's almost the opposite. It's a form of intelligence that has become so refined, so sharp, that it has begun to work against the very person who possesses it. Think about it. What's the point of having an extraordinary perception of what might go wrong if that perception prevents you from acting before the failure even exists? Virgo has an internal laboratory. That's what I call it. It's not anxiety, or at least it doesn't start as anxiety. It's a place where she takes things apart to understand how they work, where she separates what seems good from what is truly good, where she looks for the crack before leaning on any surface. For years, this laboratory was what kept her safe. It was what made her reliable, precise, almost infallible in the things that truly mattered. But there's a point where the tool starts operating without being called, where the laboratory no longer closes after hours, and then every arrival, every opportunity, every opening, every sign from the universe passes through the same analysis table, even the ones that didn't need it. And it is precisely now, at a time when the universe is actually moving towards her, that this pattern becomes the most important thing to understand. Because what's coming for Virgo is no small thing. It's not a pretty coincidence. It's something that was prepared on a scale she can't yet fully measure. But there's one detail that changes everything. This something has already arrived. It's already available. The path has already been opened. The only thing that's still up in the air is whether she will allow it, whether she will allow what has arrived to truly enter. Because there is a huge difference between an open path and a path that has been traveled. And Virgo, more than any other sign, knows this in a way that hurts a little. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path, that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose. Not as a self-help manual, not as a list of affirmations to repeat in front of the mirror, but as a tool for real discernment, exactly the kind of clarity Virgo needs most right now. No more analysis, no more waiting, but the concrete ability to distinguish what the universe is moving from what the inner laboratory is holding back. It's the kind of content Virgo reads and recognizes before finishing the first page, because it speaks of something she always knew but never saw named with such precision. You are now in an interesting state. You have just recognized something in yourself that has probably gone unnamed for a long time. This discomfort is active, this perception is open, and what experience shows is that this is precisely the worst time to put it off, because later the lab closes the report and files it away, and the openness fades. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And while you process all of this, tell me in the comments, when was the last time you clearly felt that something good was coming, but you just stood there waiting to be sure? Write it down. I want to read it. So let's go back to where we were. Virgos aren't afraid to make mistakes. That's what people think, but that's not quite true. What Virgo has is something more subtle and in a way harder to dismantle. She's afraid of believing wrong, of convincing herself that something is real, of allowing herself to feel its weight, of organizing her life around it, and then discovering that she misread the signs, that she was naive, that she, who sees everything with such precision, missed something obvious. This is the fear that the laboratory protects against, not the mistake itself, the disappointment with herself for having believed. And here's the paradox that will stay with you. The same intelligence that would make Virgo capable of seizing any opening in the universe with a depth that few can achieve. That very intelligence is what she uses to block the entrance before anything can get through. It's like a quality inspector who holds back a perfect product because the checklist isn't finished yet. The product is there, it's ready, but the form still has blank lines, and he can't sign off on something that isn't complete. The problem is that the universe doesn't work on a checklist. The opportunities that are coming for Virgo now, and they are coming, this is not a metaphor, it is what the astrological movements of this period are showing with almost disconcerting clarity. These opportunities do not come with complete documentation. They do not come with a guarantee. They do not come with the assurance that it will work. They come like all good things always have, with a feeling, with a direction, with something Virgo senses before they can taste it. And the internal lab, at the first sign of something that cannot be completely verified, opens the analysis process. The checklist begins, the waiting begins. But there is one thing Virgo rarely allows herself to consider. What if what she is feeling is already the proof? What if her perception, that extraordinary ability to grasp what is invisible to others, is already in itself the confirmation she is hoping to find elsewhere? Virgo isn't afraid of failing. She's afraid of believing wrong. And that distinction changes everything she can still do with what's coming now. And now, at this very point, something is happening that I need you to pay attention to. Because what I'm about to say is the kind of thing that Virgos read, stop, take a deep breath, and can no longer pretend they didn't know. The universe didn't pave the way for an improved version of Virgo. It's not expecting her to solve her inner lab, to silence the voice that audits everything, to become more confident or less analytical. The universe paved the way for her exactly as she already is, with the lab functioning, with the voice active, with all the precision and all the armor and all the intelligence she has spent years building. The openness isn't despite who she is, it's because of her. And then comes the question that no one had asked before. If the path is already open, and if it was open specifically for her, what exactly is still holding her back from taking that first step? Virgos aren't afraid of failing, they're afraid of believing wrong. That sentence just changed something in you, I know, because it's different from everything people usually say about this sign, and at the same time it's so accurate that it seems like someone finally read what was written inside. And it is precisely this kind of clarity, not consolation, not motivation, but real discernment about who you are and what is blocking you, that the digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, delivers in a way that very few things can, not as theory, as recognition, like a mirror that, instead of showing you what you need to change, shows you what you haven't yet recognized as a strength. For Virgo, who has spent their entire life measuring everything except the value of their own gift, this is the kind of reading that is unforgettable. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. There's a voice inside Virgo that never stops. It's not exactly the self-criticism people associate with the sign, or at least it doesn't start that way. In the beginning, this voice was a tool. It was what made her precise when the world around her was imprecise. It was what made her see the detail that everyone else missed, the crack that no one noticed, the inconsistency that only she perceived. This voice is real. It's a gift. It's one of the rarest abilities that exist, the ability to process on multiple layers at the same time, to see not only what is, but what could be different, what is missing, what has not yet been considered. The problem isn't the voice. The problem is where she ended up living. Because at some point, that voice left the work desk and entered the bedroom. It left the laboratory and entered every other room in Virgo's life. And it began to comment not only on external opportunities and decisions, but on herself. What she felt, what she desired, how she reacted, whether she reacted correctly, whether she should have felt differently. It's like an art critic who has moved into the studio. He's no longer just in the gallery, evaluating what's already finished. Now he's inside the process, commenting on each brushstroke before the paint dries. And the artist, instead of painting, begins to justify each movement before making it. Who would be a virgin if that voice were to fall silent for a moment? Not who she would become after years of spiritual work, not an ideal version of herself, but her now, with all that she already has, if the voice would stop auditing for just a moment and simply observe what is already complete. Because there's something complete in Virgo that she rarely allows herself to see. There's a wholeness there that the inner laboratory will never be able to confirm, precisely because it's not the kind of thing that can be proven. It's the kind of thing you recognize. That voice that audits everything in Virgo, which began as an instrument and became an identity, is one of the most complex and least understood patterns in the psychology of this sign. And what is rare to find is someone who talks about it with the honesty and depth it deserves, without romanticizing or simplifying it. The digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, does exactly that. It doesn't ask Virgo to silence what makes them unique. It offers a roadmap for using that voice as an instrument of true discernment, not as an arbiter of personal worth. For someone who has spent years hearing that they overanalyze, finding material that transforms that overthinking into genuine depth is an experience that can't be postponed. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. And then we come to what is perhaps the most important thing in this video. The thing that Virgo probably already sensed, but never heard said directly. She has a gift that the world hardly recognizes as a gift, because from the outside it seems very problematic. Virgo sees what isn't there yet. She perceives the gap, the unrealized potential, what could be if the pieces were rearranged differently. She enters an environment, a situation, an idea, and before anything else, senses where the possibility for improvement lies, not as criticism, as insight. The problem is that a world that values the finished product and not the refinement process hardly knows what to do with someone like that. So Virgo learned early on that this way of seeing things is unsettling, that people prefer to hear that everything is great, that the perception of what could be better when spoken aloud is rarely received with gratitude. And then she learned to keep it to herself, to see and not speak, to feel the potential of something and remain silent about it, to internalize the vision as a burden instead of sharing it as a presence. It's like having night vision in a world that only believes in daylight. You see clearly in places where others stumble, but the world doesn't believe what you see because it can't see it either. So you begin to doubt what your own eyes are showing you. What Virgo has always called a problem, this ability to perceive what is incomplete, what could be more, what has not yet reached its potential, is exactly what the universe is waiting for her to use now, with open paths, with the right moment, with the clarity that it is not a burden, it never was. It's a gift she hasn't yet fully accepted as her own. Virgo spent years calling what is actually precision an excess, calling vision a problem. And when she finally begins to recognize this, what she needs is not more analysis. She needs guidance, something to show her what to do with this ability now that the universe has opened up space for her to act. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose was created precisely for this moment. Not to tell you who you should be, but to help you recognize who you already are, and what that recognition makes possible from now on. For Virgo, who has carried for so long the feeling that their way of being needed justification, this book functions less as a guide and more as confirmation. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. There's an image that has stayed with me since I started thinking about this video. The image of someone who spends years looking for a key, who describes in detail what the key should be like, who imagines where it might be kept, who might have it, what would be needed to find it, who, in thinking so much about the key, forgets to check their own pocket. Virgo has a key in his pocket. It's not the key she describes when she imagines what she would need to move it. It's not the ideal version. It's not the risk-free version. It's not the version that the internal lab would approve without reservations. It's a real key, with weight, with use, with marks from everything that has been opened before. What the universe is doing now, this movement she feels but still hesitates to name, is simply pointing to her pocket. It's not giving her anything new. It's returning something that has always been hers. And the paths that were opened during this period were not opened for a more confident, quieter, lighter virgin. They were opened for this one. For the one who analyzes before acting. For the one who guards her vision because the world was not yet ready to hear it. For the one who built such a precise internal laboratory that she can see what others don't even know exists. The universe doesn't ask her to change. It only asks her to trust in what she has already built. And this time, when she's at the entrance to the path, she shouldn't expect the ground to send a report confirming that it's firm. Some paths only prove to be firm to those who have already begun walking them.